What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Conversations with Joshua T Berglan. And today I have my friend, Miss Virginia Rose, here today. And I don't even know what we're going to talk about, but I will tell you this. She's one of my favorite people on the planet, one of the most amazing artists, like gifted in so many different disciplines of art, but she's a model. She gives a crap about people, which is my other word for humanitarian. She just sincerely cares about others, and she's one of those friends that you sincerely want in your corner, because not every friend is somebody that you can just rely on, or maybe you have to do something for them before they'll do something for you. Virginia is one of those people that she just leads with love, and she loves, and she's a doer, and she cares about people. And oh yeah, by the way, she's been through some shit too, and she's a fighter, and she's a survivor. She is a warrior. All women would be inspired by her, but frankly, I believe that men are inspired by her as well. There's just so much going on. There's an old interview that we did. I don't even know if it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago or what, but that's pretty epic. But I got to tell you, just looking back over the last few years since we talked last, I mean, as far as on air, a lot has changed in Virginia's life, a lot of growth, a lot of progress, a lot of things that when you hear her story from years ago, and then we're about to hear some of it today. Some I don't know, some I do know. To see that and to look back and go, wow, God was moving in her life. God was working in her life. And it's exciting. And I'm sure that Virginia, because I know she has some big freaking goals and big dreams that she's moving towards, I'm sure that she would admit that she's not exactly where she wants to be, but she knows she's right where she's supposed to be, because that's the kind of person she is. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute honor and privilege to introduce or reintroduce to you my friend, Virginia Rose. What's up, Virginia?
Hi, Joshua. Thank you for that extremely warm welcome. That's so humbling, and it's so good to see your face. I'm so excited to be able to do this interview, because I know a lot has changed for you and your beautiful family, and moving and different things. And we've all kind of bebopped around the country and back after the pandemic. But thank you so much for all your kind words. I live to inspire, but I have to give all the glory to God, because he's always with me. He never leaves my side, even in troubled waters. I know I sent you one of my paintings that was about him calming the sea and the sea of life. And we've all been there. We've all been through the tides, and the waves are just overtaking us with problems. And sometimes we can't see the light. And if I can give a little bit of beacon of hope based off of my story and what I've been through, I will forever give my testimony, whether it brings me to tears or not, just if it can help somebody, because I know what it feels like to be alone in those moments. But I think sometimes when we are alone in those moments, that's when God really wraps his arms around us. And then when we're ready, he gives us the support system that we need. And you're one of those people in my life. That's a great support system to me, and also Jess too. We love you guys.
Well, no, we both sincerely love you, and so happy that we were reconnected. It's amazing that, like, I got back off Facebook, but for that week or so that I was on there, one, I had crippling anxiety mixed with this, it's so good to reconnect with them. Like, it was, I got to talk to some people I hadn't talked to in a long time, and there was like a handful that made me want to stay. And I'm asked myself, well, if I feel this way about them, I don't need Facebook to talk to them. It's only 5 people. I don't need 10,000 people. Like, just, I have their phone number. I don't need to be on Facebook for this. So like, but I'm so happy that we reconnected. And you told me, I don't know. Actually, I didn't even ask you if you want to talk about it. I should have done that first. I tried, by the way, Virginia, instead of like leading people into their depths of despair and their overcoming stories, instead of traumatizing people, I figured I would ask permission. So you just recently had some pretty wild things happen, like supernatural, out of this world, crazy stuff that you went through. And yet you were sharing with me when we talked last how God was taking you through that storm in a really beautiful way. Do you share do you care to talk about it?
Well, without going too much in depth, without triggering myself, because I'm still always doing the healing work, I will say to you that recently I made a huge move, and actually several moves. So during the pandemic, I went and stayed in Italy to work on my company. And that was a huge leap of faith, because people are like, wait a second, you're going to go to Italy during a pandemic? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I have to do this. I have to do this for my corporation. I have to do this to show people that God is in control. And let me tell you, that was a huge act of faith. And I will tell you, I never fell ill during the time that I was in Italy. I had many meetings. I did comply with the testing and different things, but it was a huge act of faith, and God really showed up for me, because the amount of work that I was able to get done during that time was absolutely tremendous. And then when I came back, I took yet another leap of faith and decided to move a few thousand miles away from everything that I knew and try to rediscover myself. And I ended up in the first hurricane since 1939. And on the same day that there was a hurricane, there was also an earthquake, massive flooding, and I was completely alone, stranded, only with my dog. And I am a hurricane survivor from back in 2004. I lost everything in 2004 and had to relocate and rebuild. And that took about 7 years. Believe it or not. I had very small children at the time, and trying to work and make that back, and a lot of things weren't insured. And so that was really, really difficult. And it's like, I have two major fears: being in another car accident, because I've been in 2 as a passenger, which almost took me out twice, but God wasn't ready for me to leave. And then losing everything in a hurricane, because that already happened to me. And I was like, God, this cannot happen again. Well, it did. And let me tell you, God completely wrapped me in his arms, completely brought me out of it, brought me through it, bettered me for it. And, you know, there was a moment when it was the worst part of the hurricane, and the earthquake had just passed. And I'm looking outside, I'm watching the lightning. The sky was this very strange purple color and just lit up with lightning, and the trees are swaying. And to be descriptive, like, I went into a room and I shut the door and I just went on my knees, and I couldn't even tell you how long I was praying for. It could have been an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it felt like 10 minutes. And I said, God, whatever you want to do with me right now, I'm yours. You have me alone. You have me stranded. I thought of Jesus during the time when he wept and he was alone, and what he must have felt like in that moment. And I said, wherever you want me to go and whatever you want me to do, I'm going to do exactly what you want. The next day, I got a call from a very dear friend, and he said, I need you to get on the plane. I got you a ticket, and I need you to get on the plane, and it's going to be okay, and everything's going to work out. And I was like, okay, I need to get my stuff in some storage, and I'm going to figure this out. I had to delay my flight a couple different times. I had to change my flight, but I eventually made it by the skin of my teeth. It took me like 2.5 hours to get 17 minutes. I made it to the airport, and I just relinquished everything, all my fears, all my concerns. And I said, you know what? It's time for a new venture. And I moved, and I trusted God, and I'm rebuilding. But ever since I did that, the most amazing support system that I've ever experienced in my entire life has completely brought me through the last 6 weeks, and I am so much better for it. I am the happiest I've ever been in my life. I'm the most physically fit I've ever been in my life. And it was the best thing, the worst and best thing that could have ever happened to me.
I love that. I love those stories so much. It makes me think of the blessing is in the breaking. it's so many amazing things happen right after the moments of despair.
Yes.
And there's something so powerful about surrendering our free will, what we think is right, for what our Creator believes is right, what He created us for. And it seems so simple to say. When you say, well, just say I surrender, or hey God, I take this, it's yours. My life is no longer my own. Take it. Take my life, it's yours. The concept of it seems easy after the fact, but in the moments leading up to it, sometimes it's hard to even think to go, oh, I could give this to God. Like I don't have to take this on. I surrender this, because I can only control what I can control. I can only do my part. But that's one of the most beautiful things about a relationship with God, in my opinion, is that it's a relationship, which means it requires two people. It doesn't require just yourself. You're not alone. And the discipline and the dedication to continue to seek God and God's will for our life, to me, is the only thing that ever proves to be an absolute truth. In a world we live in where everyone's got an opinion, you have Christians fighting over what they think the Bible verse says, what denomination's the right denomination. Everyone's got an opinion about everything. And none of it we really know is an absolute truth. But when God is speaking to us, whether we listen or not, what's being spoken to us is always the thing that proves to be true. And I love that. And it's typically, at least in my experience, and I'm trying to get better at this, but it's only in those moments of my back's against the wall that I'm a good listener. And I'm working on that. Like, I'm working on being still and just knowing God is God and letting God talk. Because I tend to talk too much to God, or try to play God too much myself, instead of waiting for Him. What has one of the most powerful lessons that you've learned through? I had a tornado hit my house and took everything, May 3rd, 1999. I know how I dealt with what happened. And I know the lessons that I learned from that. And there's been some hard lessons, and then also some very positive lessons. But going through this twice, for you, I would imagine that it would be a bit more challenging to find the positives, other than the blessings that and the miracles that have shown up for you. But as far as the actual act of losing everything, what did you learn most from those experiences?
Don't get attached to things, people, or places. It wasn't so much the physical things. It was having to leave and feeling like I was leaving people behind. They were respectful that I needed to go, because it wasn't just the hurricane. I want to say that the hurricane was the finale. It was the final door where he was like, you're not going to be here anymore. I was holding on to that place because I thought that that's where he wanted me, and nothing was working. Not relationships, not jobs, not work, not financial, just nothing was fitting. I did a lot of good there, and I touched a lot of people's lives in a beautiful way, but everything, he shut every single door, every opportunity that I thought that I had. He was like, nope, 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 no. The answer is no. And I kept saying, no, I'm here. I don't want to move. I don't want, no, you're going. And this is the final. I'm going to make it absolutely impossible for you to stay, because I know better. And so as soon as I was like, okay, I know that in all the previous times that I've ever been through a very, very difficult storm, after, and that's why I created that painting that I sent to you, he calms the storm and he breathes life back into you because he loves you, and he doesn't want you to suffer. He wants you to be okay. So I trusted him, and I was like, you know what, God, this is going to be amazing. And I just changed my attitude, and I was like, people will come and go in your life. The people that I love that were in that area, they still reach out to me. I still talk to them. I still check on them. You're my best friend in the world. I love you dearly, Virginia. And they understand that I can't be there in the physical, but I'm there in spirit. And I think if anything, when you go through something like that, I don't know if you've ever seen the photograph or the meme where it says sometimes it's easier to let go than to hold on. And it's a picture of a hand with a rope tied around it, and it's really tight, and the arm is bleeding. And then whenever you finally let go, the arm starts to heal and it stops bleeding. I needed to stop the bleeding. And as soon as I let go of that rope and stop saying, no, I'm going to stay here because there's people that need me, and I'm going to fix this, and I'm not going to run away. People are going to call me a runner. If I run away, they're going to say I'm running away. I wasn't running away. My time was up, and God decided it. That's not for me to decide. I'm on his time, not on my time. So as soon as I stopped trying to fix everybody else, which leads me to the company that I just started, my consulting company, is called Choose You Consulting. I chose to listen to God, and I chose myself and what was best for me for the first time in my entire life. I listened.
So so tell me about your consulting business. Like, what do you specialize in?
So I specialize in helping industry professionals in the fashion industry, in the acting world, in the singing world, in dance, in basically anything across the board that has to do with that type of industry. I coach them and I assist them so that they can reach their goals. I'm not a talent agent, but there's a lot of agencies. People get signed with agencies and they don't even know how to make a reel. They don't know how to
That's true.
Portfolio book. They don't know the corrections as far as okay, say I have one acting client who was working on a monologue, and he also wants to do commercials, but he didn't know how to switch those vocal abilities. Like, you can't read for a commercial the same way that you read for a drama monologue. You have to go into a completely different part of your voice. I teach runway. I teach safety in the industry and how to protect yourself, about laws. I'm not an attorney, but I know the laws as far as what the copyright laws are for photography and how to obtain your rights, how to seek out the proper entertainment attorneys when you're signing a contract for a record label. As you know, I worked for a record label. So just across the board, I consult with them and I assist them to kind of cut through the red tape. And if they decide they want to be independent and their own CEO of their life, regarding like themselves in the industry, I teach them how to do that too, because as you know, I've done acting, I've done modeling, I'm a celebrity photographer, I'm an artist, I had a hit podcast, I'm a best-selling author. And it's not to name all these titles to boost myself up, but these are my experiences for 20 years that I can assist others.
Well, and you should be proud of what you've accomplished, because it's not easy. I mean, look, there is a bestseller game that you can play, and I know how to do that because I did it. But it's still an accomplishment. Like, to know, I mean, I'm speaking for myself from a media standpoint, all these little, when you've been in the game, you learn the game, or hopefully. And then I feel that anyone that can learn the game and learn how not to be victimized by the game, or they have been victimized by the game, I feel like they have a duty to teach others how to navigate it, because there's a lot of broken hearts and people with PTSD and a lot of other things from trying to navigate the world of entertainment without any knowledge. I mean, I talk about record contracts a lot, and so my experience in the music industry is a little bit different than yours, but I've been in the music industry and still am in the music industry. And those contracts are no joke. Like, people want to go get signed, and and boy, there's a great documentary I highly recommend everyone watch that when it comes to record contracts. It's called N Factory. Speech from Arrested Development did it, and it will explain the music industry to you in a way that will hopefully inspire you to go the independent route. But that's a whole other conversation. But the thing is that like when I first went out to LA, I knew what that was like when you have stars in your eyes and I'm surrounded by the parties, the events, the red carpets, and because I had a skincare line, I had access to all of it. And then getting to see behind the scenes in the production world how things really go down. And all these little lessons that I learned, and then for my own ambition, trying to jump in and trying to play the game without knowing the rules. Well, I know what it's like to be bent over with no Vaseline with those rules, so to speak. And so I have the hardships and I have the scars from not navigating and not knowing what I was doing in the industry. Lessons learned. Guess what? Why I do what I do now is because I don't want other people to have their dreams shattered because they go in bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and completely naive. So the importance of working with someone like you who knows the fashion end of it, especially because the fashion industry is, can I say that? I can say that. A lot of these major industries are very intertwined with the human trafficking world, with the prostitution world, the drug scene. I mean, there's a lot of really crazy, shady stuff that happens with some of these larger agencies. So there's a lot of victims out there because they didn't know. Virginia knows the business and she knows what all this is like. And I would completely, I completely see the value in working with someone like you to help navigate that world. But it's not just that world. It's not just the acting world or the modeling world. The art world that you were in is pretty wild too. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I became an international fine artist from my photography work because it was getting published all the time. And then I was doing magazine editorials, and then that brought me in to build my LLC, which is virginiarosefineart.com, and start to create my own wine labels for my own wine. And I needed a hobby because I was doing all these things and I needed something that was just kind of like me time. And so I kept having these visions and dreams of like a paintbrush across a canvas, and they kept coming and coming. And I was like, God, I don't know how to paint. And he in a still small voice, he was like, yes, you do. And so I went on my birthday and I filled a cart up with all these art supplies, and I went home and I started painting. And it was never meant to be a business. I was never meant to commission paintings or to donate my paintings for causes or anything. It was literally just a hobby. Yeah. And God did it yet again. I started doing paintings. People started commissioning me. And during the pandemic, I transferred a lot of my original art pieces into lithographs or seriographs, into, transfers, so that I could hold on to the originals, but that I could still share my work. And I allowed people to use them for charity, such as Live Mana Worldwide, Voice for the Voiceless, and for domestic violence groups, to where they could auction off, or they could, sell the paintings. I would sign them for people, and they could make money from that for their charities. And then I ended up doing about 150 paintings during the pandemic, and I got picked up by artbrokerage.com and Saatchi Art. And so it was just another way for me to be a visionary and to share my gifts.
That's cool. I just wrote down the that website because I want to send that to Jessica. That was something too that when we first met, your art was really starting to take off, and that's about the time that Jessica started as well. She was teaching herself, and wow, I mean, she watching her progress is amazing. Having no experience than doing it, and then knowing that you kind of have a same thing where it's like you just decide to pick up the brush, and then now you're doing custom pieces for people. I mean, it's amazing. It's so talented. I mean, you're talking about the wine business and then the acting and the consulting. I love that you're doing all of this because it's good to have. Okay, again, I don't want to overstep my boundaries, so I'm going to be careful how I say this. But with your story and what you've overcome and your experience with relationships, and you can expand on that if you want, your experience and your history with relationships, and basically being put in a position where you are alone and with no support, and then crawling, scratching, kicking, and loving your way to this place now where you are an entrepreneur in every sense of the word, but you're an artist. And you have, as an artist and an entrepreneur, found a way to express your art and also make it a business. And a lot of artists don't do that. So that's one area that, to me, that you're inspiring. But also, I think I shared this with you before in our first interview. Your story reminds me a lot of a situation with my mother when, you know, my mom was becoming very successful in real estate, and she finally got herself in a position that she could leave my father comfortably, because, you know, for so long he was the provider. But my mom worked herself into a place where she had the money that she could start to make her own decisions, or had the freedom to be able to leave if she wanted, and she did, and rightfully so. But my father told my mom, this is, I mean, he's dead now, this is a long time ago, but told her that she would be nothing without him. She would never sell another house. She would never get another major modeling deal, blah, 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 blah. My dad told her this. Well, my mom decided to prove him wrong. I'm not going to say she decided to prove him wrong. She did prove him wrong every single year of her life since he said those words. So I think about your situation, what I know about it, it's very similar in my eyes. And so that's another reason you inspire me, because a lot of women stay, and I mean, men do it too, but a lot of women stay in really bad situations because they feel like they have no other options. He's the provider. He's the one that has the food. Where am I going to live? I don't have money for a deposit. I don't even have credit because blah, 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 whatever the reasons are, right? Because he took care of everything. So I don't have credit. I don't have credit cards. I have no financial history because my man did it, but he's beating the shit out of me, or he's cheating on me. What do I do? Well, some people decide to say, screw it. It doesn't matter. I'll be homeless. I'm going to figure this out. And they do it. You did something similar. And again, I don't want to go into your story there. You share if you want. But that's something that inspires me, because that's not easy to do. Do you care to talk about that journey of when you decided to go, I'm going on my own?
Well, and it was a long journey to get there. I'll start with, I was born into a domestic violence situation. My birth father was extremely abusive to my mother, and this is really hard to talk about, but at the same time, it's part of the journey. If it's all you see, it's really easy to fall into a relationship. And with my ex, who is the father of my children, so without going into too much of a smash, he did not treat me well. He was extremely abusive, and I don't even know that he even realizes the actual level that he was abusive, because it was really across the board. It's not only the physical, it's the emotional, it's the mental, it's the psychological abuse. I still struggle to this day with making eye contact with people sometimes, because I was always with my head down for so many years that you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're lucky I'm even with you, you're not talented enough. If I made $10,000, I should have made 12. If I got published in 2 magazines, I should have in 5. I can remember figure skating when I first met him, because I used to be a semi-professional figure skater, and I was trying to land my first double, and it was a double combination jump. Ooh. I was working so hard for it, and he was in the back of the rink, and when I got off the ice, he said, "Yeah, but you'll never land a triple." And it just shook me. And instead of being happy and focused about the moment that I had worked so hard for, it developed something in the back of my mind that you'll never be good enough. And I've carried that with me all my life. And to break that off of yourself, finally, through physical fitness, through words of affirmation, through prayers, through a support group, because I really feel now I have broken it off of me. I did exactly what your mother did. And now, please watch the beautiful show called Virginia Rose. I am now asked in rooms that I'm asked to guest speak in, what don't you do? And how have you mastered all of these things? How did you go back to figure skating at 40? How do you have abs after 3 kids? How do you teach all of these different facets? And somebody asked me the other day, why are you good at everything? And I said, because I had to be.
Damn.
Because I had to be. Because that's what was, narcissists do something called moving the goalpost. He moved the goalpost so far that he put me past Tom Brady. So you know what? I thank him. Thank you so much for every single day that you physically, mentally, spiritually, psychologically, and financially abused me, because you created a masterpiece. Because God showed up for me every single time through it, and he showed me who I really am, and that's the daughter of a king. I am a princess, I am a queen, I am a phoenix, and I am here to reach back and to teach every woman or man who has endured what I have endured that you freaking matter. And all your talents and gifts cannot be changed by the words of one cowardly man. So God bless him, and I hope he learns his lesson. And if he doesn't, that's between him and God. But I know that I'm right with God, and that's all that matters.
It's interesting how, and I love this, but I've been that piece of shit narcissist. So it's interesting. So when I make these comments, I want, and most people that watch this know my story by now. I wasn't a good guy. I was that guy, but worse. I was your ex, but not odds are worse. And this is not a competition, but I do know that, that there's something about it when men, and I wasn't doing what I was doing on purpose. I was out of my mind, and I was effed up on drugs, and I was mentally ill, and I had all of these things, and I was just out of control. Like, I had no business being around anyone, much less being in a relationship, or much less being married, or much less having children. Like, I should have never done any of that. I should have been locked away until I figured things out. That's the truth. Like, in fact, they should have a psychological examination for anyone trying to get married, and they should make them go through their trauma history, because if they're not healed from their trauma, they don't know what their sexuality is. They have drug problems. They should not be allowed to get married, because all they're going to do is create more problems for everyone, not just the person they're in a relationship with, but their family, their kids, their relatives, and exes. Because unless that person decides to step up and heal, guess what? They're just creating more victims. And that's what I did. But I will tell you one thing. I find it to be really awesome that all the bad relationships that I had, most of the women took their experience with me and turned it into something positive.
Exactly.
They went on, and mind you, that was a big to me, but I deserved that to me. I deserve all of that. So,
we are doing it for that reason, but we're also doing it for ourselves, not to interrupt you. But it is very motivating that everything that he claimed that I was, I am not. But it's not only him. It's other people too. My father and other men and other people, or jealous, ex-best friends or whatever. I when people say, Virginia, you're a bright, shiny light, or you're glowing, or you're so happy, or your energy radiates, or you motivate, or you inspire people. Had I not had those broken moments where I didn't even want to be on this earth anymore, I wouldn't be who I am today. And I'm actually thankful for it. It took 40 years for me to say that, but I'm thankful. Thank you. Thank you. And let me tell you something too. As soon as a good woman or man, but I can only speak as I'm a woman, decides that we're finally done and we walk away, we might be broken for a month or a 2 or months or a year or however long. But once we leave, all of our energy goes with us. And then narcissistic collapse happens, and I've seen it every single time. They'll collapse, and then everybody's like, why is she beautiful and anti-aging and happy and joyful and blessed? And he has aged 20 years, his hairline's back 2 inches, and he's gained 50 pounds in 6 months. So there's the proof.
And it's true. It is absolutely true that that's how it happens. And I got to tell you, you know, Jessica and I have a very unique relationship, and it's been the only healthy relationship I've ever had. And it's because we also have found a way to navigate my mental issues. And even though I'm healing and I've been healing and I will continue to be healing, you know, I just found out I'm being evaluated for ASD right now, autism spectrum disorder. And then, you know, I've already had the diagnosis of dissociative identity disorder, which is pretty wild to have to live with, even for myself. But for the people in my life, it's even crazier. So Jessica's been very instrumental in my healing. But one of the things that she's done that's allowed me to heal. So here's a tip for everyone. If you're in a relationship with somebody with a dissociative style of mental illness, set boundaries and keep them.
Yes.
Keep them, no matter what, keep them. If you say this is not going to be allowed, then that can never be allowed unless if there is a discussion that you come up with a new thing ahead of time, not after. Because if they move the goalpost on you and you, as you said, and you move with the goalpost, guess what? I've penetrated your boundaries and this is done. There is no chance for this relationship ever because of that. Jessica, in the 4 years we've been together, has not let me penetrate her boundaries once. No matter what, no matter if I'm switched, whether it doesn't, none of that. She sticks to it. And the other thing that happens that's freaky, and you brought this up, is that if I've switched and I've gone a little bit longer than she likes, I start to notice that her energy towards me is off. And all of a sudden, I can't breathe, I can't think, I can't eat, I can't do anything. Because I swear, there's something about when God talks about man and woman coming together, and I'm sure this works with gay people, I don't know. But there's something about it that it becomes like another lung. They're a part of you. And I think this is the true power of sex. Like, it is a soul connection. There is this connection, a life force connection. And it's different for women than it is men mentally. However, it doesn't matter. When a man and a woman, they have that connection energetically, and you thrive together and you soar together and you move together, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And maybe you don't notice it because you get used to it. But I'll tell you one thing, when it's no longer there, it's like gaining weight. It's like turning into dust, because it's like all the life is gone. It is the worst feeling in the world. So I think, so I wanted to talk about, I wanted to bring that up because you made that comment, and it's so true. But I want to ask you this because I've never known, I've just experienced it. Why is it, though, that women, when they finally decide to say enough, and it's just gone, the relationship there ever happened. The connection was never there. That's how cold that cutoff is. How does that happen? Because it almost seems supernatural.
Well, I can explain it very clearly, because every single time we asked to be considered, we asked for the abuse to stop. We tried to set the boundary. Every single time we were showing you how to treat us. And every single time that the person ignored us or hurt us or didn't consider our feelings, it chips away a little piece of your heart. It's like Hangman, like the game Hangman. Once all the letters are in, that's it, right?
Yeah.
So women check out, like, we gave you 100 chances, but that 101, we decide that is it. And we do need to go heal. We may not show you, but we do need to go heal. But once that is closed, oh honey, it's closed. They have this thing on Instagram that says, catch me why I care, because once I don't, baby, I don't. That's exactly how it is. And it's not that we don't still long for that person or miss that person sometimes, or miss the happy memories or the love bombing or whatever the little special things that they used to do for us when they weren't abusing us. But we no longer, out of dignity and self-respect, can facilitate that, because we've now realized that we're better than that. And now we just feel sorry for you, and we're completely turned off. We are not attracted to you whatsoever. And we don't want anything to do with your energy or your space, because we've realized we have our peace now.
Oh God, it's so true. And like, I feel like I'm getting a dose of medicine right now. Just
I'm
to
so
remind
sorry.
me. No,
I've been through it.
Listen, I asked the questions, and I'm not afraid to talk about this, because I mean, you know, and if Jessica was here, I actually wish she was here. She's working. By the way, she's teaching now.
I love that.
Yeah, she's teaching special needs kids, and it's so freaking awesome. We live in the greatest community anyway. And, well, I lost my train of thought when I was saying that, but no, I can't say I'm enjoying hearing this. Yeah, I am enjoying hearing it because it's coming from you, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I know from the exes and, you know, that standpoint, like I know that side of it too. And you know, it's just like, I love that more women are speaking out about this, because I don't want my daughters to ever grow up in a situation where they get with someone like me, like I was. I mean, now I would, you know, I mean, I'm far from perfect, but I am a good dad and I'm a great partner to Jessica. So, right. but I had to do the work, and I still do the work. And even with that, I still am not perfect, but I have communication, and Jessica and I work together on this, and we're constantly tinkering and constantly improving. And here's the thing. I, as a former narcissist, would have never, ever been able to find a partner like Jessica where I can work on these things and work through things and find ways to navigate the mental uniqueness aspects of our relationship through me, if I hadn't done the work ahead of time. Taking time away from relationships, avoiding sex, and really working on becoming the man that God created me to be. That was the only chance I ever had of having a successful relationship. Because here's the thing, no one else can fix me. No woman, no man, I can't fix anyone either. And so if I didn't take that time to heal and reset and get things figured out, and also be willing to be honest from day one, not waiting 3 months into the relationship before I go, oh, by the way, I'm also attracted to men, or whatever the surprise of the week would be. Because I saved my surprises for weekly gifts, kind of like Hanukkah, but it was like traumatic things. Like, oh, by the way, I have another child, but you know, I mean, or whatever it was. But to be able to go into a relationship where everything was up on the up and up and honest from day one, and then boundaries being set, that created this environment for me to be able to have a healthy relationship. So the point of me saying all that is, if you are a narcissist, if you are an abuser, or you are abused, you have PTSD, you're mentally ill, you have all of these labels that are attached to you that aren't good, guess what? There's hope for you. And I truly believe that hope, and the only hope that is possible to actually change anything, is shedding all your crap that you're hanging on to and giving it to the one that created you, because the one that created you has the exact plan for your life. And that relationship with the creator is the one that will navigate you to living the life that you were created to live with the people that you get to live it with. And that is the joy of surrender, in my opinion.
No, and I absolutely agree. And just to touch on one more thing. So they say that women break up harder, but men break up longer. And touch on that. So when we do finally cut the relationship off because we just can't take the abuse anymore, we're losing ourselves, we're dying inside and outside, our health is deteriorating, our hair is falling out. I can remember getting out of the bathtub and I almost wondered if I had any hair left, and it's all grown back now and healthy, but it just was falling out like if I had cancer or radiation or something because of the amount.
I remember you talking about this.
The amount of stress. It was just, I knew that it was, my life was on the line. I didn't recognize myself when I looked at in the mirror, and I had to get my health back for myself and for my children and for my mother and for my life. Like I owed that to myself, and it hurts so bad when you finally cut off an ex-husband or an ex-boyfriend or whatever the situation may be. But you do start to heal when you choose yourself, slowly but surely. But just about the time that you heal, maybe 3 months, 4 months, 6 months in, just know that the abuser will always come back. They always will come back, and they will do one of two things. They will either try to hoover you back in, because now they got the pretty version back that they see, that they're like, wow, why couldn't she be like that or he be like that when they were with me? Because you didn't give them the capacity because of the level of abuse. So now you're trying to come back.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
Literally, who came into your life only to make it better. Because in God's design, women, you guys are our protectors and our hunters and our providers. But we have a portal of life, for lack of better words, between our legs that can literally breathe life not only to children, but into you. We make your life better. We pay attention to the small details. If your suit is steamed, have you eaten today? You didn't drink water. Did you take your medication? How are you feeling? Did you send your mom a birthday card? All those little things add up. And I just want to say that if you have someone in your life that is doing those things and you're taking them for granted, please remind yourself not to, because you may not feel it right now, but once they're gone, your entire world will collapse without those things. That's why oftentimes at 80 years old, when people have been married for 60 years, when one dies, the other dies within 6 weeks to 6 months statistically, because they can't survive. They don't know anything else. They don't want to remarry. They don't want to live anymore. They don't even want to breathe anymore. So if God bestows an earthly angel, like Jess is to Joshua,
No doubt.
like I was to my exes and my ex-husband, if he bestows that gift, let me tell you, if you take advantage of it and you don't do the healing work, oftentimes he will not send her twice.
Yeah, you know what? And you're right about that, because I got lucky. I've told Jessica this, so I can say this out loud. I mean, I would say it anyway.
You did the work. You did the healing work.
There was somebody, my first wife, we had no business ever being together, ever. My second wife probably shouldn't have been in that relationship either, but she was an earth angel. And I don't sit around with a lot of guilt for what I've done. I've apologized and I've reverse course. So I've done everything I know how to do to apologize and try to make things right. But if I was being honest and had any regret at all, not marrying the stranger, I don't regret that. That was an adventure. But Stephanie, my second wife, I regret with all my heart how I treated her. And even when before we got married, and I was like pushing her away, and like we had no business being in a relationship. It didn't matter. She was full of so much love, and I just shit all over it, and was a horrible stepdad, horrible friend, horrible partner, horrible husband, all of it. And if I have any regret, it's how I treated her. And I pray, because I don't know how she's doing, but I pray that she is healed from the craziness of our relationship. Because the one thing about her that I remember the most, and this is why I'm bringing this up, her intuition was insane. All those things that you talked about, these little minor details, the little things make the biggest difference. The big things are cool and great and whatever, but the little things are what makes people excellent. That it's the difference of good to great. And when you find the right female partner, and again, my sexuality is what it is, but I can't speak to the men's side of it. Like I don't know how two men do that for each other. I don't. But I know a woman's gift. And the worst thing a man can ever, I mean, there's a lot of bad things a man can do to a woman. One of the worst things a man can do to a woman, and it's up there, is rob them of their intuition. And how do you do that? Lying, gaslighting, and being a narcissistic douchebag. And just repeating this cycle over and over and over and over again. Because the minute a woman starts to doubt her intuition, that is I believe God's greatest gift that he gives to a woman, other than being able to give life, is the intuition. That intuition is the difference between being homeless and multimillionaires. It's the difference between going to jail or not. It's the difference between being a 400-pound fat ass and being fit. There's so many things that are so important about that relationship. And when us unhealthy men or little boys trapped in men's bodies decide to get into a relationship, but we're not comfortable with the truth, we haven't fixed our issues, or we haven't fixed our sex addiction, we haven't fixed our drug addiction or alcohol addiction, whatever it may be, and we're hiding those things in a relationship, we are setting the course, and we are basically sending maybe it's known, but it's almost like we are setting the intention to destroy, whether we realize it or not. Absolutely. So men, just because you think this person's sexy and amazing and maybe the woman of your dreams, if you don't have your shit figured out, that's not going to be the woman of your dreams very long. Because what's going to happen in that relationship, you don't want to see and you don't want to be a part of. It is so much better to take the time to heal. And then God will be the man that deserves to attract the woman that you desire.
Absolutely. Be of high value. Be of high value. And I've actually taken some courses, some different type of relationship courses. Derek Jacks, I've taken his some of his classes and studied with different psychologists and stuff. I interviewed people on my podcast. It is so important to heal, because when you're bleeding from wounds that she did not cause, and then you bleed on her, don't question when she comes to you bloody. And it's like she's bleeding, and then you're like, you're not attracted to her anymore because and I say that metaphorically, but it's like, oh, well, you were beautiful when I found you, but now you're overweight and you have bad skin and your hair's falling out and you are on edge all the time and you're irritable and you don't cook dinner like you used to. I remember one of my exes, he said, he's like, you sleep too much. Yeah, because I'm sick. I'm heart sick. I'm spiritually sick. My mind, I can't trust it. I'm in a freaking crazy hospital with what they call the narcissistic haunted house, because I don't know who's going to come out. Are you going to be happy and loving, or are you going to hit me? I still flinch to this day sometimes. I have trouble making eye contact because I never knew what I was going to get. And to live in that situation like this all the time, where somebody's like, either like, oh, thank you for the dinner, baby, or you overcooked everything, smash, break, screaming, turns into a 7-hour argument.
Oh my God.
And the intuition thing, absolutely 100%, because I'm an empath. I'm a super empath. I'm a seer. I'm a super empath. I'm a visionary. These gifts were given to me by God, and I trust these things. Yeah. But when you gaslight someone, so the biggest one for me is when they say something to me and I depend on that. And then when I come back and say, I thought you said we were going to do this. And they say, I never said that. Why are you always making things up? I never said I was going to take you there. I never told you that that's what I said. And then you're like, wait a second. So I'm so hyper vigilant. That's the word now that, you know, for domestic violence survivors, where I keep everything. I keep everything in text. I keep everything physically, because I'm so afraid that somebody's going to undermine me again and crazy make me. I mean, I had to go to an actual therapist and a psychiatrist, and I went and I asked them, I was like, this is what my ex says all these things are about me. Am I these things? Please assess me, because I need to know. And she was like, honey, you're not. You're hyper vigilant because you were gaslit. You flinch and can't make eye contact because of narcissistic stare down and because they were always devaluing you. You are great at all these things because of the goalpost. You know, all of these things that they set that are cause and effect. So yes, when you're in a relationship and you're abusing somebody, just know that there's cause and effect, and that person might take their own life because of these things. So go do the work, get the help, go to God, fix yourself. There's absolutely help for narcissistic abuse, and there's help for domestic violence survivors to go and find a healthy relationship. I hate it when people feel sorry for me or try to put me in a damaged pile. I'm not damaged. I'm beautifully broken from what I went through. And now I'm here reaching back to help other people believe in themselves and stay with us and not give up.
I want to go back to something that you did. There's two things that you just said there, but the physical part of not making eye contact, and it's obvious that it's still in your body. The trauma is still in your body. So I experience that too. And I have a hard time when people touch me that well, even if I know them, I may not want them to touch me. I don't know. I mean, it's unpredictable, but it's amazing what it does to me mentally when someone comes up behind me and touches me anyway. I'm not going to even paint the picture, because what you did made me uncomfortable. So like, I'm not going to add to it. Because it's clear that we both still have it. But it's interesting how I hear people talk about all the time, well, you just need to do this, or you just need to do that, or you just need to do this type of therapy, and that's going to free you, and that's going to help you, or you just need deliverance, or you just need to pray it away. For the last 8 years, I have pursued every single day the path to healing, whatever it took, wherever God led me. You know what? I'm not healed yet. Didn't expect to be, even though the deliverance people promised I would be, even though the preacher told me I'd be delivered from this and that, all of these other things. Nope, still there. And all of those things. But at the same time, I also know that I am healing and I am growing, and these things are changing. But there's still parts that are very much embedded in me, and they may never go away. They may never go away. The symptoms that I have, and these little intricacies that, in the way that I get this bubble that I've created for myself to live within, just so I can thrive and be healthy, and maybe that bubble will change and turn into a different type of bubble. I don't know, but that's been my experience. But I want to ask you something. Even though I kind of answered the question from my perspective, from your perspective as a woman, how does it feel when people tell you how you can or should heal?
So I basically, have created boundaries when it comes to that. So I am now very assertive and very matter of fact about my boundaries. And what I let them know is you don't get over it, you create space for it. I have, and these are my triggers. If you are doing something that's going to trigger me and cause me to feel any type of anxiety, and I've given you a gentle warning, and you continue to tell me how I'm supposed to heal through something that you've never been through, then you can't be in my space respectively. And I say it as respectful as possible, but if you correct my grammar, I just went over this with somebody who loves to correct people's grammar, and all you've ever done has been corrected. It's not that I'm not self-aware and that I know I'm not perfect and I might not say things always correctly in the right way. It's that that's been done to me so many times that in this friendship, I can't allow that. So I'm going to need you to stop doing that if you want to continue this friendship. And if you can't, then we need to part ways. Again, I respect you. I don't mean any disrespect towards anyone, but I have to protect my peace. So I would say to your question, the best way, that is the best way to handle it, but just be very firm with your boundaries and to let people know, because they're not mind readers. I used to shut down and people would be like, what's wrong? What did I do? I don't know what I did. Now I will very clearly, very soft-spokenly and very gently tell you that this affects me. I can feel it in my throat. I can feel it in my body. Don't jump up and scare me. It's not funny. I don't like horror movies. Don't invite me. I don't want to be in any spaces where there's any type of drugs or heavy alcohol or anything. I don't mind going to events where it's a social gathering, but if at any point I feel like I need to step away and take a break, I'm going to. Don't grab me hard. Don't tease me about things that are traumas to me. It's not funny. And if you do it, you're a bully. If I've told you once and you continue to do it or tell me, well, that shouldn't bother you anymore, that was in the past. That's the worst thing you can say to me. That was in the past, because in my body, it still lives currently, because it's in my cells, because it happened to me. And my psyche, as many classes and books and journaling and prayers, it's embedded and I don't like it. So if you love me, make me feel comfortable.
Yeah, that's so good. That is perfect advice. And okay, so let me ask you this. You're normal looking, beautiful.
Thank you.
I mean, I don't know how you say what I'm about to say. So you're a beautiful woman. You look normal. You look healthy, all that. So your scars and your traumas and your PTSD and the other things that come up in your body, other people can't see. You walk through life. I don't know what those Japanese vases are that are so special that, you know, they break and then they put them back together and they're stronger and beautiful. And I forgot the name of them, but like, so internally that you are that vase, that vase that has been broken, but then God has put it back together, but the outlines of the scars are still there, but no one can see them. So you navigate life as this person that looks, and for the most part, has their crap together. They're doing well. They're successful. They're happy. They're bringing joy to other people. Everything looks perfect on the outside. How challenging is it to balance this? I want to be normal and treated with respect, and then at the same time knowing that there's instructions that come with you also. How does that feel? And I'm asking this question selfishly for myself, because I look normal, kind of, but internally I'm not. So, like, you've been navigating this, and I kind of isolate and I hide, and I don't really go out unless if I know it's going to be a controlled environment or it's a special situation. For the most part, I kind of keep to myself. I mean, that's a misnomer about me, because I have this big personality and a big social guy, whatever. But really, that's not true. It's an appearance and it's an illusion. But the reality is that typically I just want to stay in this room with the lights off and do what I do, but keep to myself. That's what's normal for me. That feels better. That feels safer for me. But when I do integrate and go out in public and I got all the craziness of the world that's happening, there's an inner turmoil that happens when I'm in public, or I hear those noises that are triggering, or sounds that are triggering, or music, or a person that touches me that I didn't ask to be touched. And then internally, the things that happen with me, they can't see that. And if I did react to that, I would look like the crazy person. I would look like an assailant, or however you say that.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and it's that person's fault. So or that person brought that on, but it's not their fault because they didn't know. So my question, I guess, is how do you navigate those boundaries of I want to be treated like a normal human being, and I come with an instruction booklet?
Well, I just want to say we're very similar in a lot of ways. So just the first part of it, many people do look at me and like, wow, like they call me firecracker, they call me rock star, they call me phoenix, they call me queen, they call me all these beautiful and wonderful names. That is a part of me. It's not. I worked with a life coach because a lot of times people like us get what they call imposter syndrome. And we feel in those moments that that's an imposter because we also have this other side that you can't grab us hard. You can't jump out and scare us. You can't touch our throats or our necks. You can't hug us too hard because we can't breathe. Just many different things that come with us. Loud noises. I can't be too bassy because it triggers tachycardia, and then my throat closes up, and then I have anxiety and trouble breathing and all these things. I'm not trying to give you listeners anxiety, but this is what deal with.
I think I probably contributed to it also.
Yeah,
so it's all
but this is very real, raw stuff, and it's very. Yeah. I'm very glad that we're talking about this. So I first want to say you're not an imposter because you have two sides of you. And that one side of you wants to go out and be loved and be liked and go to Thanksgiving dinner and be funny and humorous and silly and love on people and date and enjoy your family and do all these wonderful things. And that the other part of you wants to be quiet and to go to the gym and to be alone and to listen to classical music and to pray and to be focused and to shut the world out and to turn your phone off and to only just be held or hugged by that one person that you care about. So I would say to your question is the balance comes with honoring yourself, practicing the utmost self-care, and never being afraid to explain those boundaries that we talked about 5-10 minutes ago. When you go into a situation where, yeah, you may look like the crazy person. I've had a full-fledged panic attack in a Bath and Body Works. I'm sorry, Bed Bath and Beyond. Bed Bath and Beyond. There was nothing wrong. Usually the panic attacks come during the quiet times, not when the event is happening to you. It's when everything is okay and your body tries to go back into fight or flight. So I've been laying down watching a movie, not doing anything, and all of a sudden I can't breathe and I don't know why. Wow. And I have these little organic drops that I use that I got from Italy. I don't really want to take pharmaceutical medications. They take away my visions and my artistry and my creativeness and my personality and make me very lethargic. So I have to find other ways. That's why I work out so much. That's why I drink so much water. That's why I try to be around friends and family and good people. But don't feel like an imposter because you can only handle certain things. And a good word I learned about 2 years ago is bandwidth. So when somebody comes into my space and they are wanting to tell me about something, oh, you'll never believe about this car accident I saw on the way home from, let me stop you right there. I can't handle that. I can't handle a war story. I can't handle, that is not in my bandwidth because of my history. And although I will pray for this situation and I'm very compassionate about what you're trying to tell me, and yes, it affects me, I unfortunately, because of my traumas, will shut down for several days because of this, and I can't handle it. Do you understand?
Wow, that is beautifully spoken.
Do you understand? And a lot of times they're like, oh, I'm sorry, because they sit around and watch Fox News. I can't watch the news at all. Or they want to tell you about some dog that they saw that got ran over, a child that got molested or something. And I can't. So I explain to them, this is not in my bandwidth. But I've also learned to reciprocate that. I need to tell you something, Joshua, that happened to me today that was very traumatic. And I need somebody I can lean on. Is this in your bandwidth? How was your day? Can you handle me sharing this story? I need support system right now, but I need to see if you can handle it. And I learned that actually from a best friend that was a former military and worked for a certain secret branch of the government. And there would be things that I wanted to lean on her for in our friendship. And she's like, I can't handle this bandwidth. Like, you know, supporting domestic violence victims and trying to help trafficking victims. She's like, I just can't. I've seen too much, and it's just, I can't handle this in my bandwidth. So I've learned to use that in all case scenarios, whether it be a romantic relationship or a family or a friend or whatever the situation, and also ask that same energy for myself is I can't handle this bandwidth. And if people tease you about it, or they laugh at you, or they joke about it, or they say, wow, like really, like you don't care about their, what, they're not for you. And just bow out gracefully, just as quickly as you can. Just put up the brakes and say, you know what? I'm sorry you can't understand, but this is what's safe and peaceful for me. So I'm going to remove myself. And a lot of times they'll come back and apologize, and they feel a little sheepish for the way that they treated you. I've had several people come back and apologize and say, I just didn't realize. No, you didn't. You didn't know that I was a rape victim. You didn't know that I was a domestic violence victim. You didn't know what I've been through. You didn't know my story, because I knew you didn't have the bandwidth to handle it. So when you teased me, you triggered those things. So now I'm forced to tell you what I've been through. So watch your tone. Respectfully. Respectfully.
You know, this is like really, it's really good to hear you speak like this.
I'm very passionate. You really pulled this out of me today, Joshua. I wasn't expecting this at all. But
I wasn't either. But this is, I've been trying to, you know, I left Facebook, even though I've had like social media, and when I originally left social media, not like it was some big deal or like but I mean, there was a lot of different reasons why. But ultimately, it was my mental health. You know, I mean, like Facebook, they, you know, restricted my account for 2 years, which was a reason to leave Facebook. But really, the mental health side of things that I was experiencing, and I've never talked about this because I haven't known how to talk about it, but now I kind of feel like I can, just because it makes more sense, is that I would block people that I was friends with and would engage with them because mentally I would perceive something to be one way when the reality, not even though I don't know what the actual reality was, odds are the reality was it wasn't what I was thinking. I would have all of these perceptions that of what was happening and what was not, and I felt crazy, and I think about some of the relationships and friendships that I've had over the years that I just walked away from and abandoned or shut the door or did something to sabotage the relationship because I thought that they were doing something to sabotage it or whatever, or it'd be lack of trust or people that genuinely loved me and cared about me, but for whatever reason, because of my mental makeup, I would destroy the relationship in the variety of different ways, or I would just cut that person off. Now, a couple years later, having a better understanding of what all of that is, now that, you know, I've been finally decided to work with a professional again. I was so scared about working with a professional because the last time I worked with a doctor on my mental status, I was given a bunch of medication. I was diagnosed schizophrenic and all of these other things and giving all of these meds. And then I'm like, well, I don't trust doctors. I'm not going back. Then I realized after all of these years that I can only go so far alone. And I do need professional help. And I finally started getting it. And now the more I've learned about the complexities around not just the trauma that I experienced for all those years, and then the self-inflicted trauma, and then the other mental uniqueness, I'm starting to understand why I've been the way that I've been in friendships, relationships, even family relationships, even relationships with strangers on the internet. And it's been very sobering's not the right word. Making me sad is not really it. I don't know what the emotion is, because there's clarity, there's sadness, there's God, I wish I could find them so I could say I'm sorry and explain.
I think the word you're looking for is regret.
Well, I just know there's situations that I would have handled differently now, but at the same time, with the way that you're talking about setting those boundaries, I also realize that if I can set those boundaries, I do it with people in my life now. I could have done that then, and I would probably still have those relationships. And I don't now, and I may have burned them forever because of how I acted or reacted to a situation. And maybe they didn't know that I was a little bit, out there. But whatever. But now knowing these things, it's like, oh, well, I want these relationships back. But I want them back in a way that I can go, okay, well, I need to set these boundaries, but I want this relationship. And I need, I want you to understand that, like the way you so eloquently explained and described of these boundaries. And it's not just because I want them. It's because so we can have a functional relationship, and you can set boundaries with me and we can do this. And guess what? I don't know if you can have any healthy relationship, friendship, co-working relationship, any relationship at all without healthy boundaries.
Exactly.
And so I'm so inspired. I mean, you've inspired me a lot since I've known you, but I'm inspired by this conversation because I keep telling I'm 44 years old, Virginia, and I tell myself I can't have friends because I can't handle the day in, day out management of those relationships. But maybe my friendships don't have to be that way.
Well, I would say focus, first of all, just back to what you just said, is instead of focusing on what once was lost and the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, like my mama used to say, focus on the growth and how far you've come. I will say that we all make mistakes and we all go through things that now we said, I wish I would have handled that differently. I will tell you that in many of my friendships and relationships, if somebody did one thing too far, they were cut off.
Yeah.
I didn't tell them why. They were Calabrese, Italian, you're dead to me, you're sleeping with the fishes, metaphorically.
Cement bath.
Like gone. You're done, like checked out, like we are no more.
Yeah.
But I have evolved now to say, listen, I don't like this. I don't like the way this person is treating me. I've seen people come back 10 years later, 8 years later, apologize, 23 years later, apologize for something they did in school to me or bullied me or something, 18 months later that said, I made up this rumor about you because I was jealous and I haven't been able to sleep soundly ever since I did that. And I'm really, really sorry because you're actually a good person. I had my own mental issues and I was super jealous and I did this horrible thing to you and I'm sorry. Do you accept my apology? Guess what? I do accept your apology and I forgive you because forgiveness is for me. It's also for you, but it's for me. But what I learned from that is if the friendship does come back and continue, it will never be the same. Perhaps it needs to branch like a tree in kind of a different way. maybe you're not going to be in my internal layers, but you're on my external layers. And I still wish you well. I send you a Christmas card. We can keep in touch. But, you know, like you said about the vase with the gold, and I know that that metaphor, because I've seen the picture where they put the gold as and they put it back together. Sometimes it will be like that. Sometimes relationships will come back stronger because of the hardship that they went through, or that really difficult thing. I mean, you know, you say, oh, I'm never talking to you again, forget about it, and we're broken up. And then the next time you see that person, you can't imagine ever going another day without seeing their beautiful face. And how could you have said these horrible things, right? So sometimes it will come back. But if it doesn't, I would just say, give yourself the peace of knowing that you learned something valuable to teach your child, or to go moving forward, or that you will react differently in the situation, because you'll say, I don't want what happened with Susan or Linda or Todd or whatever the person's name is to happen in this relationship, because I really value this person and my season was up with them. But in this season, I want to make sure that I treat this person right and I do a little bit better this time. Isn't that what we're all trying to focus on in life? Is just being better versions of ourselves, reacting better, handling things better. You know, they say old and wise for a reason. They don't say young and wise. They say old and wise. And as we get older, we just have to put the focus on just doing better, loving people longer, harder, and just remembering that song, Live Like You're Dying. I heard that song the other day as someone really special played it for me. And as I listened to that song, it was a great reminder that treat people well right now. Tomorrow's not promised. And don't worry about the things in the past. If you can apologize, give that apology. If you can go back, but if you can't go back, make your peace with God, make your peace with yourself. And like Deepak Chopra says, live presently. We can't control the past or the future, but we can control the way we treat each other in this moment. If you love someone, say, I love you. If you owe forgiveness, give them the forgiveness. Don't withhold it. You'll be a better person for it. That's a life lesson that I could give.
That is so good. And you know, it's very interesting because I know that you are a woman of faith, but you have a very well-rounded faith in the sense that I can just, all your little comments and your little sprinklings of nuggets, like there's a lot of Eastern and Western disciplines there that
Native American mix.
Yeah, and that's a whole, like, if I opened that door, we would be here for 5 hours because that's, but I really love everything that I'm hearing. This has been so inspiring. I could talk to you about all of this forever, but to close us out, I want you to tell everybody your services that they can hire you for. Okay. As a consultant. Name those services, plug your social medias, all that other stuff, and any closing words. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So please, if you have Instagram, please go follow me and support my page at Choose, CHOOSEUYOU Consulting. I send everyone there because I do have so many social medias, but for Choose You Consulting, if you need coaching, I offer virtual coaching or in-person coaching in the Midwest area. I also do photography. I teach runway. I help with mindset coaching. I'm here to guide you. Are you trying to write a book? Are you trying to start a podcast? Do you want to be a model, but everybody tells you you're beautiful, but you don't know how to start? Do you need some confidence? Do you need some navigational skills? Do you just want somebody that you can do a Q&A with that's gone before you? I'm happy to help you. You can write me an email at virginiarosefineart@yahoo.com. That is without an S, virginiarosefineart@yahoo.com. I am still under Virginia Hodges on Facebook because Facebook won't let me change it ever. but I am Virginia Rose, the artist, the photographer, the coach, the consultant. I'm here to help you. You can always contact Joshua. He knows where to find me. I'm not going to give my private cell phone number out on network.
I won't either.
And follow me on Instagram, and you can reach out to me in an email. I have a podcast, La Dolce Vita podcast with Virginia Rose. Did about 80 episodes during the pandemic. And even though I'm not currently recording, there is so much beautiful truth and wisdom and Joshua's episodes on there. And yeah, it's still on there. And Jason Cisneros, wonderful, wonderful influencer, friend, business mentor. Just, he's a wonderful friend to Joshua and I. His episodes on there, and Dr. Tranquility, and just so many wonderful people. And if I had anything that I would leave you with today, because we covered so many wonderful things, I'm going to leave the same quote that I left last night when I did a national networking event last night that was virtual. And it's my favorite quote. And the quote is, "When we rise with the tides, we rise together." And somebody helped me in the beginning of my career. And when I asked them why they were helping me, that's what they said. When we rise with the tides, we rise together. So if I could leave you with anything, please remember that if you are on the up, to reach back. And if you're not, and someone's giving you a handout, make sure that you appreciate them and that you have gratitude and that you show that gratitude for what they're doing for you. And when you make it, and you will, don't give up. When you make it, please reach back to those behind you. Don't get bitter. Don't roll in the money and you're the best and step on people's heads to get where you need to get. It's not a good way, and God can take your gifts anytime he feels like it or wants it, and he is watching you. It's not like Santa Claus, but it's just a reminder that it doesn't matter how successful, how much money, you need to remember to reach back and help those around you, and that your monetary value does not measure your actual value.
Oh my gosh. So I know I told you I was giving you the last words, and I will. What you just said about what you're talking about, the journey, and when you're up, don't forget to reach back and help your fellow man. So my very first time on stage, it wasn't planned. I had nothing planned. The person that I was doing business with at the time, this is what opened the world for me into what I'm doing now and everything else, this moment. I had no idea what I was going to talk about because she bailed, and there was like minutes to prepare it. And I asked myself, if I could say anything, if this is my only time on stage, what would I say? And I almost said word for word what you just said. And wow, I love when stuff like that happens. I'm sure it's not a coincidence. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I'm going to tell myself it's not a coincidence, that it's a synergistic thing. And it's a good reminder for other things. But I love those words because it's so important. I want to share this really quick. So I've gotten very comfortable with where I'm at and who I am as a man. Like, I don't care what the Bible says about homosexuals, because I know that that word was not even invented until the 1600s, and I know what the word meant before, or no, 1800s. Like, I don't care. I don't care what other people think. I have my own faith. It's my own journey. I'm here to share my experiences and how I've overcome. Outside of that, I don't know any absolute truths. I'm not going to tell a Muslim person they're going to hell. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to live my life and to live it, to love and to be free. But one of the things that I've gotten very comfortable with is just where I'm at as a man, with all of the complexities and all of the things that are wildly inconsistent. And because there's inconsistencies from time to time. I know without a shadow of a doubt that God has this really amazing purpose for every single person that's there, that's out there, that exists, that you were created for a reason. I don't, whether you believe in God or not, whether regardless of your religion, I believe that that fact is a universal truth for all of us. I don't believe we would be created without reason. Anything else after that, I don't have the answer for, except one thing. To get what we want in life, we have to be honest about it. We have to be honest about who we are, what we believe, what we think. We need to be honest. And one of the most amazing things I know about our Creator, I call the Creator God, is that God loves us enough to allow us to walk out what we believe is true. He lets us walk that out long enough to show us what really is true. So my point in saying that is, don't be as scared of your truth. Don't be as scared of your truth if you're struggling. Don't be scared of your truth if you're being abused. Don't be scared of your truth if you're confused. Don't be scared of your truth, regardless of what it is. Truth attracts your tribe. And Virginia is a beautiful example of that. The people around Virginia, her friends, her tribe, her people are there because she has been honest with where she's at, where she was at, where she's at today, and where she's going. And with that, she's maintaining her boundaries. That is, to me, a beautiful example of God's love and God's strength and also God's promises.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't believe that any of this happens for anyone, any of us, me, you, the success, the moving forward, the growth. I don't believe any of that happens without truth. And your truth that you shared with me 2 years ago, whenever that was the last time, is a different truth today. But that's what growth is. And it's really beautiful to see your growth, Virginia.
Thank you.
I believe with all my heart. I mean, you are a world changer, but I believe with all my heart that that's going to get magnified in a big way. And I just admire you.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to see your growth. I get to talk to some really amazing people from all over the world, but my inspiration trigger has been kind of gone because it's like I've heard it all, and people have kind of all seem to have the same story because it's like they took the same course and they want to share the same stuff. I have not had one of these very vulnerable, old school, gratitude, unfiltered style broadcasts in a long time. And I want to thank you for being so bold. And I want to thank you for being so vulnerable. And I want to thank you for going places that I don't think that you were prepared to go, but you did it with grace and excellence. And I believe that you are a tremendous role model, not just for little girls, not just for moms, not just for teenage women, but also men too. And so thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the person that you are. And God bless you, my friend.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. That got me to tears because somebody asked me last night on the Q&A, why do I do what I'm doing for so long? And I said, joy. It brings me actual joy to help other people. It's literally like having Christmas every single day when you get to help people live their dreams. And when people tell me that I'm an inspiration, like you just did, it touches my heart. And if that feeling ever goes away, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to inspire people. I want them to feel better after they leave my presence. I want them to feel magnified. I want them to feel joyful and grateful and warm, that I come from a humble, warm place. It doesn't matter about titles or how many things you've accomplished. What are you doing to help fellow man, like you said? And it's not, I don't care if people think it's cliche. I used to frown and kind of shy away when people would be like, oh, you're just a do-gooder, or you're just, yeah, I am. I'm happy for that. I'll take that title happily. Yes, I want to do good. I want to leave a legacy. Jason Cisneros in his class, we had to take a class, and I'll just touch on this really quickly, about if you had to go to your own funeral today, how would you feel about yourself? That class changed my life. I was already trying to be a good person, but now I want to be an even better person. I want people to say nice things about me when I'm not in that room. I want people to remember that I helped them, or I saved them, or I had that talk that nobody would have with them, or I supported them, or their life somehow was better because of a cup that I gave them, or a scarf that they said looked pretty that I took off and gave them. Whatever it is, I want to be that, because I came with nothing and I'm leaving with nothing in the physical world. But in this world, if I can touch somebody's spirit, that's what lights me up on fire. And I feel like Jesus wants us to be like that. God wants us to be like that. He gave us the Bible to teach us to have humility and empathy and respect and love. And when somebody feels weird because they're like, oh, you love me too much, or you're clingy. I love. God is love, and he made me, so I'm love. So if you can't handle my love, then I'm so sorry, but I'm not going to unlove you or stop loving you, because I'm made of love. I'm made of purpose and drive and compassion. And if that's too bright and shiny for you, I'm tired of dimming my light because people say she's just too much. If I'm too much, go find less. But this is who I'm supposed to be. I'm a lot, and I know that I'm a lot, but I have an abundance and a purpose from God to love on people. And it gives me such great joy to know that I lit your fire today, because you lit mine. I didn't know what we were going to talk about, but I remember our last show was freaking fire, and it was and I was like on fire, and I had to call other Jessica and tell her, because I was just bawling in tears of how wonderful it was. And I feel even better of a fire and more growth than the last show that we had. So I'm so grateful to you. Thank you so much. And let's keep inspiring. And I love this conversation so much. And I hope it touches somebody's life today, and that God just lights their fire.
Yeah. Yeah. Come and never sleep on me. Eyes on my chain, 숙여 너의 고개를. What you looking at, fool? 너의 눈 흐리멍텅했고. Find your comfort from another, yeah. I go low like undercover, yeah. Wanna know my name, 죽지 않은 일은 위에 부어버려 기름. Yes, you can even guess me, cause I'm baby. High low 확실해, not like maybe. Baby, let me welcome to my palace. 찾지 않아 Alice, you just keep on wondering. You just keep on wonder, 찾지 않아 Alice, but 너의 memory. I just pop a bin, Danny have been. 나는 걸어 Boeing 747, I get weak, get ready. Like I wanna get late, 준비해 빨리. We ain't got a lot of time, man, wavy night. Jameson hit the rock bottom. 잃어버린 정신머리들, yeah, got 'em, yeah, shot 'em. 모든 problems, 언제까지 기다려야 할래, now gone, yeah. Yeah. Come and never sleep on me. Eyes on my chain, 숙여 너의 고개를. What you looking at, fool? 너의 눈 흐리멍텅했고. Find your comfort from another, yeah. I go low like undercover, yeah. Wanna know my name, 죽지 않은 일은 위에 부어버려 기름. Yes, you can even guess me, cause I'm baby. High low 확실해, not like maybe. Baby, let me welcome to my palace. 찾지 않아 Alice, you just keep on wondering. You just keep on wonder, 찾지 않아 Alice, but 너의 memory. I just pop a bin, Danny have been. 나는 걸어 Boeing 747, I get weak, get ready.